Federal government says ongoing reforms will lead to stronger economy. For the World Bank, monetary policy tightening by the Central Bank of Nigeria may not control Nigeria's inflation. 8,651 jobless workers withdraw 14 billion naira from pension savings, says PENCAM. Asia-Pacific markets rise as Fed holds rates and shifts DOT plot. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. It's time to talk business. I'll start by telling you that the World Bank has stated that monetary policy tightening by the Central Bank of Nigeria may not rein in inflation as anticipated by analysts. On the global economic prospects outlook for the rest of 2024 and 2025, the World Bank pegged Nigeria's economic growth rate at 3.3% in 2024, same as its projection at the beginning of the year. Furthermore, the bank projected Nigeria's GDP to grow at 3.5% in 2025. It explained that growth will pick up from the 2.9% recorded in 2023 due to the effect of the current administration's reforms in the petroleum and forex exchange sectors. However, the report noted that the failure of monetary policy tightening by the Central Bank of Nigeria remains a risk to the outlook. And now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured that the ongoing reforms in the country will lead to a stronger economy. President Tinubu gave this assurance on Wednesday in a nationwide broadcast commemorating Nigeria's 25th anniversary of democracy.
The unnecessary repairs required to fix the economy over the long run so that everyone has access to economic opportunity, fair pay, and compensation for its endeavor and labor. As we continue to reform the economy, I shall always listen to the people and will never turn my back on you. In this spirit, we have negotiated in good faith and with open arms with organized labor on a new national minimum wage. We shall soon send our executive bill to the National Assembly to enshrine what has been agreed upon as part of our law for the next 5 years or less.
Now, to look at progress being made around acquisition of skills for employability is a multi-industry business leader, George Omoraro. Thank you for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Great. We're celebrating 25 years of unbroken democracy, and we heard from the president efforts being made to grow Nigeria's productive sector, talking about the youth, talking about women, talking about entrepreneurship, and we just had the president talking about fair pay for endeavor and labor. Well, as an entrepreneur, someone who is into business, how do you think entrepreneurship can be encouraged in Nigeria, particularly at this time and amongst young people?
Well, personally, I think that entrepreneurship is a very tough endeavor. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it's something that, you have to decide that you want to do, so you don't give up halfway. I think to encourage this practice amongst Nigerians, and especially amongst the young ones, we have to begin to see funding initiatives. First off, let me backtrack by saying the entrepreneurial development system in the nation needs to be further improved, meaning that there has to be some ideas and some initiatives around developing people, preparing them to run businesses and to create job opportunities, ultimately to create value for the society and the economy. That's very important, that's very critical. Until that system is built probably into our educational system, so instead of preparing people only for making them ready for the job market, instead of doing only that, we also prepare people to create value, to innovate on stuff, to build businesses and all of that. So I think if it starts from the educational system, if that transformation can happen at that level, we can then build people who will be ready to take on, that role as an entrepreneur in society, and then ultimately prepare some means of funding and some form of mentorship, which is really pairing people up with others who are already successful in business, because there's a lot that you will learn on practice, and there's a lot that you can learn from experience, and majorly the experience of another person sometimes is more valuable than your own experiences, so you don't make mistakes and all of that. So I think a combination of those three things, working on the curriculum, providing funding, and then support from people who are already doing businesses, I think that would strategically improve the entrepreneurial outlook of our nation.
Okay, talking about teaching business, particularly from elementary to tertiary to practical experiences. I know before now we have in school, back then in school, in primary school, we had studies, something like business studies.
Business studies.
Yes, on an advanced form, we have cooperative colleges. Do you now mean that this colleges or this tutelage at that particular stage has not been that very effective? Do we need to have a blend with practice on the field? Apart from what you get in class, when you get to the field, you need practical experiences, you need some level of mentorship, like we have in the southeast part of Nigeria, where you have somebody come to learn the ropes from younger stage, saying it practical to advancing. Yes, you mentioned the issue of financing also. Most times we hear for entrepreneurs, okay, I need money to start a business, but most times you discover that having this money is not just enough. How do we blend this knowledge from running this business, from knowing how to run this business, to getting the required finances to grow the business?
I think that it would be a good start if most of the elementary educational practices are reviewed in terms of training and equipping people for entrepreneurship. I think that would be a very good start. I see a lot of people who start businesses from school, like when I was in school, a couple of people, selling, just trading stuff. I did as well, and that sort of prepares you, for, there's never enough preparation, by the way, for, entrepreneurship, but it sort of gives you like a soft landing into the field, for you to understand how buying and selling works, how profit and loss works, and all of those things. I feel that from the curriculum level, if there's a lot of practical experience, imputed in it, I think it will go a long way in improving the quality of entrepreneurs that we eventually have. I believe that not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur. Some people are better as entrepreneurs, some are better as entrepreneurs, but whichever one.
Give us a difference.
Okay, so an entrepreneur is, for instance, somebody who's working in a business, but has the ownership mentality, understands the vision, believes in the vision, and then runs it like their own. So there are a couple of people who, I don't want to mention names or all of that, who currently in the Nigerian corporate scene have that credibility as an entrepreneur. They run as if they are founders of the business. They run as if they own the businesses, and then they push the business towards the path of
Give us
profit.
one or two names. They might just be models for some young entrepreneurs listening.
Absolutely. Easily, I would mention the Hers Holdings as an example. So you see the founder, but you have a couple of other people You have people like Owen. You have people like the lady, I can't remember her name right now, who runs Transcorp. Yeah. So you have the head of Transcorp Power, you have the head of Transcorp Hotels, you have the person running UBA, and you see all of these people run the businesses like they own it. You know, they did not necessarily they did not start the businesses, but they run the business like they own it. So there's that group of people, and I don't think that the educational system should completely neglect that. You know, like I said, not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur, but I believe that we should train people for entrepreneurship. I believe that people should test their hands on businesses very early and see whether it's for them or not. Not everybody is going to take a risk. Not everybody can take a risk. Not everybody can survive the adverse effects of a risk. You know, at so many points in my own journey, I've lost money, gained it again, lost money, gained it again, lost trust, gained it again. So
it's more like a journey, something
Absolutely.
You learn from it,
Yes.
from experience, then you get to improve.
Yes.
Now, government has been trying to actually help businesses. Government realizes that the MSME space is a huge space that employs almost 40,000 percentage, and to grow the economy, that sector needs to be empowered. A lot of money, a lot of capacity building is being put to ensure that this sector grows. Yet there are some teething problems and some challenges there. How would you describe the impact, and what do you think should be done differently going forward?
Yeah, I recently learned something about the baobab tree, and you know, interestingly, the baobab tree does not grow by itself. It has to be planted, you know, and once it's planted, it takes 200 years for it to produce its first fruit, and then after 200 years it produces for another 800 years, right? One thing I understand about principles and policies and things like this is we need to give them time. You know, so you start empowering people, you start training people, you start doing all those activities that, you know, the SMEDAN is doing and all of those beautiful organizations are doing, but we need to give them time. Nations are built over time, not on time. So we have to enjoy the progress that we will get. Initially, every progress will come with pain, first of all. So it's going to be tough. You know, I remember when I started my business, for instance, I was going to courses, traveling for courses and all of those things. It was a lot of investment on my own development, but subsequently I started yielding the fruits. I built a stronger network, I built a stronger business, and all of that. It came together nicely, you know. So most times time will tell eventually, you know, whether a policy works or whether it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, what advice would you have to give for people starting a business afresh? What do they need to do? Yes, you've said there's need for it to start early so that you learn through the ropes. For those who have not been able to start early and now they have the capital to start business,
Yeah.
How do they start? What are those things they need to look out for?
Well, I think one thing that's lacking in many businesses is, I call it the 2 V's, really, not one thing. The 2 V's is 1, vision, and 2, value. I think first, every business needs to be built on a vision, a very strong vision. And that is what will guide you all the way. That is what will inform the quality of people on your team. That is what will inform the quality of products that you have. That is what will define your level of excellence. And the second thing is value. There are lots of people who are businessmen, entrepreneurs, but do not provide any value. So they're just going about looking for deals and all of that. So I think before you start, you have to define these 2 things. What's my vision? What would this business achieve on earth? What would this business add to this nation and to the success of this nation? And the second is value. How would I improve the lives of people in the community? Because if entrepreneurship does not make lives better, then it's out of purpose. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now looking at the concept of the gown and the town, talking about academics,
Yeah.
what you learn in the classroom, then taking it to real practice. Government recently, this present administration passed the student loan scheme, and part of the components of that scheme is the skills development, your ability to not just learn skills, but also part of that loan, you could start a business and run it. What's your take on it? and how do you think that should go in terms of implementation?
Yeah, I think that it's a brilliant idea. I'll start by saying, for instance, I've had schools contact me and say I should come and teach some of their courses and make it a bit more practical from my business and professional experience. And so I currently do that with Covenant University, for instance. Okay. And so what this does is it creates an opportunity for an interaction. So when I was in school, I didn't have the opportunity to see the corporate space and how the market works. But it creates that level playing field where I can experience the market even before I get into it. Okay, that's what the mix does. Now, to enable students to and people in school to start businesses, I think is brilliant, because what this does is it gives them experience before they need it. And what usually happens is when you get into business on the long run, it's the same principles, it's just that the scale is different. So if you're selling maybe provisions in school, for instance, and then you come out of school and you're selling cars, just an example, the principles are the same. You must have a good product. You must put your product in a good place. You must have a good pricing, and you must attract people to your product. So if you can keep all these principles and you can master them on a small scale with practice, apparently with funds provided by the government, when you decide to scale up and increase the capacity of what you're doing, I think you'll fly high, really.
Still talking about schools and entrepreneurship, we have a lot of tertiary institutions having entrepreneurship centers that tend to boost and encourage students to get into entrepreneurship. But it seems we don't have enough out there in real practice. Or would you say those institutions are doing well? What do they need to do? Yes, you now mentioned a private institution to get into. Have you, who is in practice in the field, go in there? Do you think we need to have more of your people in the practical sense into these institutions to get to teach those who are interested, and not just the book aspect of it?
Yeah, I think the biggest driver of development is the citizen and not the government. I think a lot of us need to be open to the ideas as well. A lot of entrepreneurs would turn down such invitations because they have a busy schedule and all of those things. So I think it starts from there. If a lot of us are open to the idea of empowering a lot of younger students into the idea and really just immersing them into the concepts of entrepreneurship in profession and in practice, I feel that the institutions will be open to it, because as a matter of fact, you find a lot of institutions looking for people who, like I mentioned, I have loads and loads of requests, but I can't be everywhere, and so I'm sure they're reaching out to people. And I think we just need to accept the responsibility. The reason why we have gone ahead is so we can help others get ahead, and it's easy if we take simple platforms like that. I would encourage, the relevant bodies and the relevant institutions to try and structure something, work with the government to enlist some of the professionals and the entrepreneurs out there. And then,
okay, sorry to hold your
Yes,
thoughts as we wrap up. Just a quick one. For someone who is starting a business at first, like for instance, I want to go into business, have some capital. Yes, capital is not just enough. Yes, capacity building is another thing. How about keeping my books clean in terms of balancing my sheet, and what other skills do I need to succeed in business?
Yeah, for finance, really, your books are everything. Business is built on numbers: how much you're making, how much you're selling, ensuring there's no fraud, ensuring there's nothing that can dirty your reputation as a business. Because on the long run, when you're trying to scale, you're going to need those books to defend your name and to defend your capacity. So ultimately, the numbers play a key role. You have to. I think every person that is in business needs to study finance. Another thing that is important, which is not talked about enough, will be marketing and sales, because you can't have a business without sales. I commonly say that the job of everyone working in the business is to sell. Whether you're a driver in the business, whether you're a social media manager in the business, whether you're an accountant in business, you are doing everything you're doing to make sure that we sell, because if there is no income.
Talking about sales, about sales, there's a common phrase that goes, if you don't say it, you can sell it. Talking about marketing, talking about advertising.
Yes.
How we do, and I understand you're also a media professional, you're into advertising.
Yes.
How is that going? How can that help businesses grow? And not just selling in country, but also exporting, particularly services outside Nigeria.
I think that market has been, democratized now. So there's an open playing field. I personally have clients across 4 continents. This is easy now because all you need to do is be visible online. You have social media platforms. What do you use your social media platforms to do? Do you ensure that you're marketing yourself, pushing out content daily and letting people know what you can do? Payments have also been democratized. You can receive payments from anywhere in the world now. So there are no limits to how far you can push your business with the introduction of digital marketing. So it's something that everybody in business should master, should learn, should try to do. We at Rage, we do that for a lot of businesses and try to get them to be visible across continents, across the world, so people can patronize from all over. So I think if you master the skill of marketing, or you get someone who can help you push your business properly online, you have no limits, really.
Thank you very much, Mr. George Omoraro, for sharing your deep thoughts with us at this particular point in time. I just hope a whole lot of aspiring business people and those who are already in business have taken advice from this deep insight for them to get to grow their businesses. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Now, the Accountant General of the Federation, Oluwatoyin Madein, has told accountants generals in the country that they must embrace innovation and adopt new technologies to enhance their capabilities as the stewards of public resources. She was speaking at the opening of a capacity building training in Abuja for accountants generals. Madein said transparency in public finance management is key and called for adoption of openness in communicating the true state of public finance and navigating contemporary issues.
In our role as Accountant General, we must champion transparency by ensuring that financial information is accessible, comprehensible, and timely. By doing so, we enable the public and other stakeholders to make informed decisions and hold us accountable for our actions.
He needs to know the new rules, he needs to know the new regulations and innovations. So that's why we organized this particular workshop to update those that have been around and those that are new on the job.
Because if they prepare the account on time, publish it on time, people will now look at it, get convinced that they are doing the right thing, and they see the projects the money is being used to. They will have a trust in government, and that will boost the working of our system.
The Federal Consumer Competition and Protection Commission, FCCPC, says it has initiated efforts to engage with markets and supermarkets to inform operators and traders about consumer rights and regulations regarding price fixing. Alain Kaujo reports that the acting executive vice chairman of the FCCPC, Adamu Abdullahi, stated this in Abuja during a one-day virtual awareness workshop for students from Nigerian tertiary institutions organized by the FCCPC.
I believe that by the time everybody is aware of what their rights are, and you can challenge service providers and manufacturers to what these rights are, it makes them sit up and do what they are supposed to do. We believe that that's the way to go. Also, in the marketplace, you are not supposed to form yourselves into food associations, yam sellers association, egg sellers association, and sit down together and fix prices for goods. You are forming cartels. That is against the law.
A review of primary and secondary schools curriculum on consumer rights to enable pupils and students at tender age to get to know about your rights. Now, a quick one to the global market. Maria, how are European stocks looking this morning?
Benny, we can say the stocks are mixed, with most in red. European stocks traded in the red on Thursday as regional investors react to the U.S. Federal Reserve's latest monetary policy decision and U.S. inflation data. That slipped by 0.19% at 37.29%. FTSE also at 0.12% at the point basis of 9.81%. CAC also was down at 0.11 at 8.80 points. Asia markets are mixed after the U.S. Federal Reserve held the federal funds rate at 5.25% to 5.5%. To project only one rate cut this year, electric vehicles stocks surge despite EU tariffs. The Nikkei lost by 0.40%. Hang Seng Index was up by 0.98%, while the Shanghai was down by 0.28%. For U.S. futures, investors will get another look at inflation today. In extended trading, Broadcom shares surges 14% after the chip maker tops fiscal second quarter expectations and announces a 10-for-1 stock split. Dow futures depreciated by 0.06%. S&P 500 went up 0.28%. Nasdaq Composite was also up by 0.85%. For African markets, we have the South African JSE Top 40 at 0.59%, while Namibia remained marginal. That's it from the global market this morning. It's all you, Benny.
Thank you, Maria. And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube, on NTA's other platforms. Business Express returns tomorrow by 3 p.m. Do keep a date with us as keep thinking and doing business.